The intro to Kingdom Hearts does a lot of things that get the player settled into the game in a couple of clever and subtle ways. In this video, I'm going to be going through the opening of the game as well as the Dive to Heart section, because there are certain aspects of it that stuck out to me before, but I wasn't really sure why until now. So when you're starting a story, you usually gotta do a couple things. Typically, you'll spend time establishing the setting, a goal or motivation, and of course, connecting the viewer with the main character. The first thing they do is establish the setting, as well as a sort of status quo, while building a bit of intrigue. First we hear, "I've been having some weird thoughts lately. Is any of this for real or not?" It then goes straight into the opening, and this opening then shows a couple of things. Number one, in this opening, we see Sora on a beach multiple times. We see Riku and we see Kairi, so we get an idea of where he normally finds himself and who he talks to. However, the opening also conveys that the status quo is in fact currently not where we are, and every time Sora thinks he's woken up and is ready to go about his day, something strange happens and it turns out that he never really woke up. We first see it right after the initial shot of him falling. He suddenly wakes up and he's back at his beach. After adjusting to the brightness of the sun, he sees someone he clearly seems to know and runs over to him before realizing that he's way too deep in the water. No matter how much he tries to reach for his friend's outstretched hand, it just won't work. This pretty much plays like a bad dream where nothing you try seems to ever work. But then he wakes up again in the water, and he's greeted by another person he seems to know. Well, you might think, okay, well, he just passed out underwater and now he woke up for real this time. I mean, he doesn't seem to question it. He's smiling and talking there until, oh, no, he's still in the dream. By this point, I think you're going to be putting together that, like, yeah, this is a dream. You already have it in your head to question if any of this is real. And that leads to the end where he falls back into the darkness that he started in. And this unveils the first instance of Disney in the game, which is Snow White. With just a little opening sequence and 2 sentences, you've already established the status quo for Sora, and that wherever you are is not his home. Or it may even be a dream that he's stuck in. Emphasis on the word stuck, because clearly he does seem to be trying to go about his day, but he keeps getting ripped away from it. So the seeds of motivation are planted there. I also want you to keep in mind that one of the big things that happens to Snow White is that she goes to sleep, so, you know, yeah. Before I continue, there's also the aspect of the music of the opening, and I don't need to tell you that Utada Hikaru knows how to make really good music, but it's also this specific version of Simple and Clean that they used that really adds this opening. They have the regular one, but the Planet B version adds a more electronic, trancey vibe to it, and that just enhances the whole feeling that this is either a dream or not real, or, you know, something's up with it. So it has that good energy, and it continues to perpetuate the feeling of tranciness. Anyway, we still haven't really connected the audience with our main character here. I mean, he's got a cool design, and we saw some of his friends, but there's still some work to do. Well, since this is a video game, they could do it in a way that you could only do in this medium. Once the opening fully ends, you're back with the main character, and the very first thing he does is look at you, the player. Suddenly, some text appears on the screen. Someone or something is talking to you, easing you into the game. However, as your eyes follow where the text moves, Sora does the same thing. Anyway, the president says that the door is still shut and asks if you can step forward, and then the game tells you how to do that. Is the voice talking to the boy? Is he talking to you, the player? I mean, maybe both. After all, we've just established that this boy is a reflection of you. He looks where you look. I mean, you look at him, he looks right back at you. You move the stick forward, he walks forward. And you'll begin to see even more of a reflection once the game starts to ask you questions. The sword, the staff, or the shield. What type of weapon would you, the player, choose? Using the boy as your vessel, you can choose what you want and what you give up. Still, as the presence is speaking to him, he looks at the text. Now, I like this little section for 2 reasons. One, now that it's established that the boy is your mirror, it's time for you to really define that reflection. Not only what type of fantasy weapon you would choose, but what characteristics you'd take on and which one you'd abandon. The text for each weapon reads, "The power of the warrior, invincible courage, a sword of terrible destruction. The power of the mystic, inner strength, a staff of wonder and ruin. The power of the guardian, kindness to aid friends, a shield to repel all." Now, I like that the text isn't simply just sword, staff, and shield, because now it turns into a philosophical question. And this is a game for kids, so I mean, when I started this, I don't think I even really thought of things like this before. I mean, the music definitely conveys that what's happening right now is very important. I also like that at least the sword and the staff can lead to either invincible courage and inner strength or terrible destruction and ruin. This power clearly can be used for both good or evil. The shield honestly feels like the most on-brand answer for Kingdom Hearts, but I like that it gives you the ability to choose. After this is the combat part of the tutorial, and while you are able to defeat a couple of these dark creatures, they eventually overwhelm you and send you to a different part of this place. You've gained the power to fight these things off, but you definitely haven't defeated them. After throwing some barrels around, you're led to a door, and you open the door. Maybe you're free? Nope, the door won't open yet. This presence wants you to tell it a bit more about yourself. I mean, this place sure looks like the beach from the opening, but with that ominous music still playing, you know you're not awake. The 3 questions are, what's most important to you? What are you afraid of? What do you want out of life? Again, as a kid, you might have never even thought of things like this before, but even as an adult, this may be something you need to stop and think about. It gives you options to choose from because, again, you and this boy, at least for now, are connected. His options are your options. Now, if you know Square, then you recognize that these are Final Fantasy characters, but I like that these guys somewhat challenge whatever answer you choose. They're not flat out disregarding your options, but they're calling into question if that's a good answer. Is being number 1, friendship, or your prized possession such a big deal? Getting old, being different, or being indecisive? Is that really so scary? You want to see rare sights, broaden your horizons, or to be strong, huh? They all seem almost unimpressed by your answers. What you don't know is that these options do dictate your character progression through the game, but I mean, yeah, you won't know that on a first playthrough. All you know is that you started this Disney tie-in game and it's already getting philosophical on you. Anyway, by this point, you're pretty invested in who this boy will be. I mean, you've spent time choosing and thinking of who you are after all. I should add that he also has no voice in this section. He's literally a silent protag. He doesn't even have any voice clips when you attack or when he's engulfed in darkness. Once you've answered all the questions, the present tells you that the closer you get to the light, the greater the shadow will grow. One could say that this means the closer you get to the door you're looking for, the more dangerous things will be. This is when you fight Darkseid, and not only is Darkseid a cool design art-wise, but also it's still very well designed in terms of being a tutorial boss. He's slow, so it's very telegraphed, but it also teaches you that you can attack different points at times on one enemy. If you're clever enough, you can get onto his arm when he slams on the ground and start attacking his head, which will give you tech points, so it rewards you for thinking outside the box. After you beat it, the voice tells you that you have the strongest weapon of all, and to remember that you are the one who will open the door. And that's a wrap for this first section of the game. Honestly, before Sora woke up, I was genuinely convinced that, this was the game. The game was about trying to escape this dream. The tutorial was crafted so well that, honestly, yeah, I can see this being a good premise for a game. The chain of events really keeps you engaged with it, despite it being just a tutorial. I also think this section sends a message that, hey, this isn't some random dumb Disney game. This is a big deal. And yeah, it sets up the goal of getting to that final door, though you wouldn't know about that till you get to the final rest. Honestly, really good stuff all around. After this, they characterize Sora fully and get the player to connect with Sora in a more conventional way. So if you want to see me talk about that, this video is a good place to start. Anyway, that's all I got for today. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and if you did, leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.